everybody. I'm Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors and the director of the Real Estate Academy of America. And please subscribe so you don't miss any of these contract tips. I will link below the website for the Academy, Real Estate Academy of America, so you can take our CE classes. Today, I am going to talk about the change that GAR has made under Form F-290, Agreement to Reinstate a Contract. And this is a great clarifying change. So just to backtrack a little bit, this was a form that was new, I believe, last year or 2 years ago, because once a contract has been terminated, it is terminated. And I've done a previous video on CPR for a dead contract. Just so you know, you cannot amend a dead contract, a terminated contract. It has been terminated. You can't amend a terminated contract. So really what previously had been required was for a brand new contract between a buyer and a seller, should it have been terminated and then the parties changed their mind and decided to work through whatever issue caused the termination and want to actually go to closing. The problem was we would have to get an attorney to write up an agreement between the buyer and the seller to go back under, they would either have to write a brand new contract, but the problem with that was the lenders had a cow. They could not start a new loan. They had already had a buyer's loan in progress with that contract. And if there was a brand new contract that was presented, it was creating all sorts of issues for buyers with respect to their loan that had already been in progress. So then the parties had to find an attorney to draft an agreement between the buyer and the seller to reinstate the contract that they had previously terminated. So this was creating all sorts of issues. So the Georgia Association of Realtors came up with a brand new form called Agreement to Reinstate a Contract. As I mentioned, it's not an amendment. This is a separate agreement between a buyer and a seller to reinstate the contract. And in that agreement, it references the buyer and the seller. It references the purchase and sale agreement that had been terminated. And then there is a date, the date of this document executed, fully executed with notice sent to buyer and the seller, was the reinstatement date. And as of that date, you backtrack and it's as if the buyer and the seller had never terminated. Everything from that previous contract is back into place. There were a few fill in the blanks. There are still some few fill in the blanks for the buyer and the seller to clean up some issues. Not to amend the contract, but just clean up some issues. Okay, Dana, what do you mean? Well, depending on the time frame from when the contract had been terminated until the time frame when the parties agree to reinstate it, there's a couple of things to consider. Number one, closing date. Have you passed the closing date? Are you too close to the closing date? Likewise, if there had been any unexpired contingencies, have they now expired and those need to go back into place? And additionally, what if earnest money had already been dispersed based on the prior termination? How do you address earnest money now that the contract has been reinstated? So for 2024, those fill in the blanks are still there, basically to make sure to address closing date, depending again on the time frame between the termination and the reinstatement, where you are with respect to the closing date and other contingency timeframes. So that's where you would clean that up. But for 2024, because earnest money is a pretty big deal in all contracts, GAR has added a section, a brand new paragraph in Form F-290, Agreement to Reinstate Contract. It is brand new paragraph 4. One of the things they did is something that had already been there where it talks about the reinstatement. It just now uses that. It uses the term, quote, reinstatement date. They've added that. But this brand new paragraph 4 states, if earnest money has been dispersed by the holder, the agreement shall be contingent upon the buyer paying the holder the earnest money of X amount of dollars within so many days from the reinstatement date. So this is in case the parties forgot to address earnest money had it been dispersed. This is a reminder that had it been dispersed, you need to go ahead and address that here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please share these videos with some of your colleagues if you think they could benefit from them. I am Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education. Bye. If you like that video, check out the one here. If you like the content on this entire channel, please click here to subscribe. I try to take even the most complicated of real estate situations and make them crystal clear. See what I did there? Real estate made crystal clear. Thank you guys so much for watching.